Welcome to Adventures in the Bangkok Film Festival. Tonight we're seeing Skin of Youth, a Vietnamese romance about a cage match fighter who falls in love with a pre-op trans woman in the underbelly of 1990s Saigon. Let's check it out.
Adventures at the Bangkok Film Festival. Adventures at the Bangkok Film Festival. Watching some films and then asking some cues. Meeting the crew and then writing this tune. It's Adventures at the Bangkok Film Festival 2025. I saw a movie.
Alright, I'm fresh back from the showing. Here are my thoughts, initial thoughts. First of all, I loved the film. I thought it was very emotional, very touching. One thing I didn't mention up top is that the trans woman is a sex worker in this film, and I think that's important to mention now because this film really rotates around love, pain, and sex, and sort of the intersectionality of those three. And as I was talking to the director a little bit afterwards, she was talking to me about how each battle that the male lead fought in his cage matches, the female lead, she had an equal battle in her sort of sexual endeavors, in her sex work that she had to encounter. Sometimes those battles were with him, or sometimes those battles were with other people or in other scenarios. And I really felt like that resonated very well. It felt like this movie that had a sort of yin and yang, where his fights and her nightclub work had a dualism to them. But first of all, I just want to say, what a great way to show trans representation. I feel like never in this film was the trans main character being pushed towards that she wasn't woman enough, or that she had to be further feminine or anything like that. She always had it under her own initiative. It was always her own internal desires and her own internal struggles with wanting to be more feminine or wanting to be a quote-unquote real woman, and what that meant to her and what that meant to people around her. But no one was ever yelling at her or bullying her. That's not the type of film this is. This is a film really exploring a slice of life of what it's like to be a trans woman in Southeast Asia in a relationship, and the messiness that comes along with that, societally and culturally, and specifically emotionally in your own head. And I feel like the lead actress here, her name is here, I'm sorry, I pronunciation, and also I just saw the film, I forget. But she was wonderful. I got to shake her hand afterwards, was so grateful. But the lead actress was so phenomenal, and they talked about how she pulled so much from her own life experience into this character, and you could just feel it oozing on the screen, like the way she spoke and the way she lived and the way that she felt internally about the transition process and her own femininity, and how it was never the forefront of her character, but it was always bubbling in the background, and I felt like that was just explored so intimately. From what I know of what friends I have who are trans and in the gay community, it just showed such an authentic trans experience to me, not a watered down one, or certainly not a watered down one, but also not one that leans overly into cliches or stereotypes. Yes, she is a lady of the night, and yes, he is a fighter, and it still is a sort of heightened reality, but the moments of their relationship and the moments of her just living her life felt so true and so real, and I could tell that was what they really wanted to get on screen. There was a Q&A afterwards, which I stuck around for the whole thing, and I just was so delighted to hear from them about the process and just getting into character and all of these things. One thing I found very fascinating was the lead saying that she had never been in love in real life, and I can only imagine how difficult it is to play someone so deeply in love in a film, and to spend so much of your heart and your energy and your emotionality on this role, and on exposing yourself not only physically but emotionally, and to not have ever been in love, to have to be pulling entirely from watched experience and not from your own internal desires. It must be a confusing feeling to have to navigate, and I feel like she just navigated it so elegantly. And the lead, my goodness, he was so good too. The lead actor, He was so good too. The emotion he could get in his face, just these little facial expressions he would get, or the haggardness. He fights in all these death-defying fights to earn more and more money to potentially, to support them and potentially help pay for her surgeries. And he's so brutalized and exhausted by the end of it that he's playing just this beat down, battered character, and he does such a great job of playing this man at the end of his rope in a lot of situations. But also, I can't commend this film enough for the positivity it brought towards the trans experience. Not that it's a positive film per se, or that they go through entirely positive things. It's a tragedy in a lot of ways, and they go through a lot of tragic events. But it shows how even through all those hardships, there's such beauty in just living that relationship and just the way in life in general. And I feel like this movie captured such a brilliant essence of the struggles and the beauty of any relationship. And to do that with trans people and to expose people to things like this is so important. I feel like a lot of people who don't travel too much or don't get out of their comfort zone a lot only have film and media to expose themselves to different cultures and different perspectives. And so while I don't think we need a slice of life for everything, I think this is exactly the type of slice of life film we need to make more of as a society. These types of people, like trans people, who are totemized in culture but are often not treated as whole humans or are not interacted with by a lot of parts of society. I feel like this happens to Muslims in non-Muslim countries, or trans people all over the world, gay people all over the world. I feel like it happens to black people all over. It happens to Indian people so much. This totemization and stereotyping of what they're like without actually interacting with them. And so to have a film like this ringing so true with like the personal trans experience, and that not being like, oh, it's a horror show, or oh, everyone bullies me, or whatever. No, it's just you're living your life and you're in love and all of these things, right? And to show that you can find so much beauty and so much happiness in that, even in a drama where things are heightened to add additional tragedy, there still was an air of hope and an air of positivity towards the trans experience and romance in general, and just finding love, found family, and spreading your nurturing ways. I also had a conversation with a fantastic, I'm sorry I'm forgetting her name right now, but with this fantastic makeup designer and prosthetics designer afterwards who worked on the film. Her name is... and she was talking about how she wasn't initially supposed to work on this film, but she got a call while she was on top of Mount Everest that she had to show up for this film in 10 days, and she did, and she pulled through. And my God, was there a lot of blood in this movie. But moreover, there were some very fascinating, surreal sequences midway through the film, one of which included big angel wings on the back of our main character. And I talked to the woman who made these wings, and she was very proud of them. She still has them framed at her house. They were phenomenal, and they were like bloody and pulpy, and she made them hand by hand. They're PVC pipes being puppeted by a man high above, but it looks so beautiful and elegant in this dream sequence. And the surreal sequences in general, I feel like if I have one downside of this film, it's that there weren't more surreal sequences, because about halfway through the film, we get introduced to our first of a couple of sort of hallucinatory, surreal montage sequences, and they're all so well done. There's one that is remembering a bad memory where she was potentially drugged, and it's the way that it's shot is very jagged and very POV, and it really gets across the point. Another one is sort of a depression sequence, and it's a very intense dream sequence thinking back on the events of the film and the relationship, but also showing this very surreal imagery of her with wings and these cool images. And then later there's a super intense sequence where the main character, the main man, has to fight through just villain after villain in these cage matches, as it's cutting back and forth between bloody, pulpy cage match to putting on makeup or snorting a line at the club with his wife, right? And sort of this dichotomy of them both having to go in the mines to earn for the family, right? Whereas his is fighting in cage matches, hers is dancing at the club and performing for suitors. And I felt like that sequence was done so well and felt sort of dreamlike and ethereal. You really rode along with him as he was getting pummeled and pummeling others. The sound design in this movie was great. When it was there, I will say, as an audio engineer, I felt like there were a lot of times in this film, especially early on, where silence was the sound. It was a lot of ambient noise, or it was a lot of environmental noise rather than actual film score for the beginning. And well, I think that worked well for bringing you into the world and making you feel like these characters are real. I don't feel like it emphasized the emotionality perfectly at the beginning, but then midway through, by the time those surreal sequences hit, my god, the sound is chef's kiss. There's an exotic bird sequence where they use a lot of strange bird noises that really emphasize the moment. There's a lot of sort of scary, haunting guitar bits and scraping bits at different moments that evoke a lot of intense anxiety or emotion, and I feel like it does it expertly. The music during the scene where he's fighting through all the enemies is so it's so electrifying, and it amps you up, and it really brings a momentum to that moment. So I do feel like overall the sound design was excellent, although I would have cared for a little bit more score near the beginning, but hey, maybe that's just me. I love music. What a phenomenal film. Ash Mayfair, you did such a great job, and the cast, oh my goodness, just phenomenal performances all around. I want to say this isn't the most exhilarating film all the time. Sometimes the fights are really, really amp you up, but it's really an emotional journey. It's this slice of life where you spend a lot of time. You spend a year, maybe 2 years with these characters and just live in their relationship, live in their shoes, really feel the emotions behind what it feels like to be a trans woman trying to navigate that space and navigate that space in your head. And I feel like I can't commend it enough for that. It really helped me. There were elements of my own mental illness struggles that I could obviously connect with, and there were other elements of it that I had only seen from a distance or tangentially that I really felt like I got a much more intimate understanding of through this film. And if that's not what film is for, if that's not what characters are for, then why are we making art?
So please welcome the director and the cast of the film. Please join us on the stage. Can I ask the cast to introduce themselves to the audience first?
Yes, please come on.
Hello everyone, I'm Mimi.
My name is Jung Wong, and today I'm very happy and so excited to be here today. And I want to talk about and share with everyone. It's my story and my the first British I joined.
We also have the crews of the film. I think among the audience, maybe you want to introduce them.
Yes, thank you. So today present with us, we also have the producer, Trần Thị Nguyệt Ngọc. First, assistant director Tina Hồng Thu. Cinematographer Chanel Chokroy. Our special effects and VFX makeup Jun Go. Also present from the sound team, Michelle Boy is the room and finally Tom Fan, who was, the love of the set. So yes, thank you so much for being here with us, and we're very honored and happy. And before I start, I genuinely would like to also thank Don, Pidon and the Bangkok International Film Festival for selecting us. I think nearly all my cast and crew yesterday was their first time seeing the entire movie ever since we made it. So it was an incredibly emotional experience, and it's such a gift that you allowed us this reunion and to share this with an audience.
I see. Because actually, maybe we can start because you said it's first time. So it means, and I think this film, is it difficult to make this film in Vietnam, and can you show it?
So this is Skin of Youth is the first movie or the first narrative film, as far as I'm aware, to have cast a trans actor in the leading role. And we don't know yet if we will have general distribution in Vietnam, but that is something that we're working towards, very sincerely in dialogue with the government and censorship and Ministry of Culture, with the hope that we can share this story that's very much needed and connect with the community of young trans youth in the country.
Yeah, and maybe we can start. Where did you get the idea in making this film? I mean, where the story comes from? Why? I mean, at the beginning you want to make a film, about a transgender character in Vietnam.
So thank you for asking. I have a little brother, and he turned 18 years old this year. At 2 years old, he looked me in the face and he said, sister, I don't think that I'm a girl, I think I'm a boy. And so I remember very distinctly after that conversation, I sat down and I typed transgender into Google search for the first time. Sorry, I'm very emotional, sort of recalling the story even today. And then I made a conscious effort to try to understand what that journey would be like for a young Vietnamese kid. So I grew up in the community of a lot of queer people and queer youth around me, and fell in love with many of them. And their stories sort of just filtered through over the years, and this was a film that's 16 years in the making already, if we count that moment of origin. So when I met Jen Kwon, a lot of her personal history as well informed really deeply how the character evolution changed over time. So it's a combination of both personal history that is then transformed by the fabric of the society I was living in, the young people that were sharing with me.
How do you meet her? At the beginning, because actually,
So I met. So the lady who played, she had a very small cameo part in the movie. She played Madame Noong, the owner of the club. She's actually the first kind of openly trans woman in Vietnam. And I met her for coffee when I was sort of still in the writing process and coming home and scouting and casting and looking for a suitable actor. And she said, I think there's this girl you need to meet. I'm teaching her how to do catwalk. So she gave me one's photo. And yeah, so we met, I auditioned her, and the rest was history. A lot of it is also one's very personal kind of experiences. The work environment of the club and so on. All the other fellow dancers and the other girls at the club were also a sure trans dancer. And just through our rehearsal process, I was noting down everything that the girls were sharing with me.
Can I ask you how was your experience to be in this film? I mean, is it difficult for you? Because I think you did a very good job in this film.
Tuy nhiên thì đây là lần đầu tiên mà em tham gia một bộ phim cũng khá là lớn.
So this is my first time making a movie.
Và em không có bất kỳ một cái trải nghiệm nào hết, kể cả là từ hôn cho tới từ va chạm cho tới cơ thể.
I have never had any experience like this, not even a kiss or touching someone else's hand or body.
Và đặc biệt là em còn ngại khi mà lột đồ của mình ra.
I was very shy to get naked on set.
So, khoe body của mình nữa, và khi mà em xem phim thì em có thấy những cái mà trước đó em chưa bao giờ thích.
So when I watched the film yesterday, I saw things that I didn't think that I could imagine I would like.
Nhưng mà có chị Ash đã giúp cho em để có rất là nhiều kinh nghiệm để mà tham gia được bộ phim này.
But Ash helped me to gain the experience and ease into the transition to join this movie.
Và em cũng đã học tập trong cái nhân vật này một khoảng thời gian khá là dài cùng với chị Ash.
And in the process of developing this character, we spent a lot of time together, me and Ash, and I learned a lot.
Và đặc biệt là có những anh chị xung quanh đã tạo cho em rất là nhiều năng lượng và đã tạo cho em một cái nguồn cảm hứng để mà em có thể sống trọn được trong nhân vật ở một khoảng thời gian khi mà quay phim.
And in addition to that, the brothers and sisters on set were very protective of me and very inspiring, creating a space where I could really get into the character and play the part.
Và điều cuối cùng là đoàn phim của mình thì có 4 chị đại quyền lực, cho nên là em không có sợ gì nữa hết trơn.
And finally, this set was run by 4 very powerful women, so eventually I learned to not be afraid anymore.
This question is for you. I think this is the first time. How is the experience in working in this film with the director?
Thật ra thì đây không phải là lần đầu tiên của con mà đã là lần thứ 3 rồi.
So in fact, this is not my first but my third time.
Lần đầu tiên của con là khi con 11 tuổi.
My first time was when I was 11 years old.
Và cái người đạo diễn mà đã đưa con đến với con đường điện ảnh đó chính là cô Ash.
And it was the same director.
Và 5 năm sau đó thì một lần nữa con gặp lại cô Ash.
And 5 years after that, we had a reunion on another film, the third one.
Thì đó là bộ phim thứ 2 và lần cuối cùng là cũng không phải là lần cuối cùng lần gần đây nhất đó là năm con 21 tuổi và đó là bộ phim này.
And finally at 21, this film came about. So this is my third time. So just to add to that, she played the young bride in my first feature.
Và khi mà bắt đầu từ lúc mà con còn nhỏ thì con không có biết như thế nào là diễn xuất và con không có biết là điện ảnh là như thế nào, làm phim là như thế nào.
So as a child, I didn't know what acting was or what cinema was or anything.
Và từ khi mà con còn nhỏ thì con đã được làm việc với cô Ash. Tất nhiên là cô Ash luôn luôn là người truyền cho con những cái cảm xúc, những cái động lực những khi mà con cảm thấy là có nghi ngờ bản thân mình có thể làm được cái vai diễn đó hay không, hoặc là cảm thấy là mình có thật sự là phù hợp, mình có thật sự làm được hay không, hoặc là cái cảnh đó mình nên có cái cảm xúc như thế nào mình không có hiểu, thì đó là những cái lúc mà coach luôn luôn ở bên cạnh và hỗ trợ để con có thể lấy được cái cảm xúc tốt nhất cho cái vai diễn.
So I recall that even as a little kid, and when I had my moment of doubt, and I didn't understand what was supposed to be happening, or I didn't understand the emotion, I didn't know if I could do something or not, then my director was always there and encouraged me.
Before we go to the audience, when I ask you, this is a co-production, but I believe it must be quite difficult to finance this film, and you can tell a bit about the process.
So my producer is sitting right here, Lofton, and I am incredibly fortunate, I think, because she is the mistress of co-production in Southeast Asia. That is unrivaled by anybody. This was a co-production between Vietnam, Singapore, and Japan. It, I think, took us more or less 6 years to get the financing together from the day the script was started. I can't even tell you how many film markets we went to. And we must have pitched the film thousands of times. And we were still raising money during post-production. But I really think I'm so grateful because honestly this was such a labor of love that nobody who worked with us expected a profit or a salary that was commensurate with anything too significant. So we were able to make it for a budget that was post-pandemic, that allowed us to have so much on the screen. We tried to save a lot, but we also got very lucky because even casting, for example, so many people in the cast were friends and family. My first AD, her entire family is in the movie, her mom and dad, and uncle and 2 cousins. And my producer also played one of the doctors. So many of our friends, actually, I think the entire row here in the crew had a background part in all the party scenes and the market. So yeah, everybody wore multiple hats so that we can get every shot done, and I'm just incredibly grateful for that.
All right, I'll go first if nobody else will.
Beautiful film, first of all, just want to say. But secondly, I wanted to say, was there any specific theming that you had behind? I know sometimes you really hold to specific, tenets when you're making a film or a project. It really seemed to me like this film was a lot about love and pain and sex and sort of the intersectionality between all of that. So I just wonder, were you thinking about that? Were there any specific tenets in your mind you really needed to show, or any core themes that you held while making this film?
Thank you for the question. I love this kind of question, actually, because it's something I think about deeply when during the writing process. But during the making process, I think all of that disappears in the service of eliciting emotions. Me and my cinematographer, we've been friends since our grad school days, and we fight constantly over any moment in the film that doesn't feel emotionally truthful, doesn't make me feel something. And I think regardless of what the message or the social implication or the tenet or the subject matter, our goal at all time was to make the moment emotionally truthful, to make the viewer feel That's the only thing we hold on to. And so through the making and post and the creation of every single part of it, music and costume and working with the actors too, when they don't feel right about something, they will tell me. We actually sat down, me and my cast, and we rewrote all the dialogues together. Because they tell me I've been away from Vietnam for too long. And my dialogue in Vietnamese sounds terrible. So they rewrote all the lines with me. And that was the kind of collaboration we had on this movie.
Well, thank you so much. I think it definitely got across. There was a lot of emotion felt, so thank you.
Next question. Anybody?
Thank you, Ash and the team, for a very beautiful film. So for me, the film has the most beautiful sex scenes in a Vietnamese film, to be honest. That's what I think.
I'm not a translator for her, so she needs to be. Thank you.
So my question is that I feel like the main actor who has to work with two ladies here, I believe is a very hard job for him. So can you tell me, and the team, everybody's here, how can you handle that? How can you help your actor to work with them? Because actually it's not easy, right? So for me it's crazy, it's so hard to work with.
Thank you. So Võ Zahuri, he's up and coming, I think, incredibly talented actor in Vietnam. I've seen him in his first film was called Goodbye Mother, and it was an incredibly emotional, beautiful film. I fell in love with that film and with him then. And when we work on this film, he's one of the most generous people that I've ever met, both on the screen and in real life. Because he was the only main cast member who had acting experience to that level. He was also helping me when the actresses, were kind of struggle to understand any of the technical term and so on. And so we would actually slow down and walk through every single individual scene. Honestly, I love him so much, like a brother or a son, because the process. I would be lying saying that so many of the scenes we and the cast and we write it together, because moments where during rehearsal, during improvisation, where I saw their interaction, something would come up, and then I would call my DP saying, "Oh my God, they just did this. Can we try that? Can we do that? Can we add that in the scene?" So much of that really is not, just we. I just got incredibly lucky, I think, and I feel that my job, both as a director and a creator, really is to recognize and capture and encourage, much more than being a guide. I needed to see the gift that these casts, these young kids really were giving me at every moment, because they were just being themselves completely authentically. And somehow we were able to hold it and keep it fresh and keep it believable on set. I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay, thank you for the film. So I watched the pitch of this project back in 2018 as part of the audience at CFLIC. So now watching it on the screen is truly a moment of appreciation. So just some questions. So throughout the process of making the film, are there any changes in the direction or the vision for the film as both actor and director, and maybe what you wanted the audience to feel from watching the film as well, or maybe you yourself, how have you evolved as artists or as filmmakers? Thank you.
Sorry, let me just repeat the question part by part so I make sure I remember to answer. During the making of the film, did anything change from the beginning? Was that part of the question?
Yes, just the direction or the vision or what you want the audience to feel, and also as filmmakers and artists as well.
So it was a constant discovery process, really. I don't think we ever stopped trying to explore on set and even in the post room. A lot changed. The script changed constantly. My AD was really sick of me because I would come and I would say, "You have to find me an opera troupe tomorrow." My production designer hates me because I told him at 2 a.m. saying, "Wouldn't this look amazing on a boat?" So stuff like that. I think that's how my brain worked. And I needed to be breathing the space, walking the street of Saigon, being in the river, to even envision the scene. So even though the script was written in advance, it wasn't until I met the cast that the story really came alive. And then because I met them and I know what their home looked like, the houses of the characters became that. Like all the locations were real locations that we scouted and worked on. And everything, like some of the cast even brought their own clothes, their own set decoration and so on for that sense of authenticity. All the dialogues changed, of course, and me and Jay Chananan, we also tried to we shot this very extensively, but we also tried to keep a really flexible kind of way of working on set together, because at some point we agreed that if we had to shoot the film like a documentary, so if there was some magical moment or interaction that were happening between the cast on set, we would just roll it and say nothing and don't go through the entire slaving process, which is probably why it took me so long to watch all the footage on set, because the camera was constantly rolling and there was so much B-roll, you wouldn't believe so much. Could I explain and translate to the cast in case they want to add to this?
Tại vì em nghĩ là trước đó thì em đã không kiểu là chưa từng có cái tình yêu nào hết.
I've never been in love before.
So, bởi vậy khi mà em tiếp xúc với lại anh Huy là em có được em tự cảm nhận được một cái tình cảm nó khác so với từ trước tới giờ mà mình nhận được.
And when I met the actor, and I actually felt feelings that I've never felt before.
Mặc dù là biết là phim nhưng mà em vẫn cố gắng để cho mình một cái tình cảm để nó có thể thật nhất có thể.
Even though I understand that this was a movie, some of the feelings were real, and I was allowing myself to just be authentic.
Thật sự thì em cũng không biết là khi mà yêu là sẽ như thế nào. Thì đó.
Even now, I'm still not sure what being in love is like.
Em nghĩ là trong quá trình quay thì có những cái khoảnh vô tình nó lại tạo lên một cái năng lượng khi mà hai đứa chạy về.
And during the production, the shoot, there were so many moments where it was unstaged and unplanned, but that it created sparks between us.
Và sau 2 năm khi mà xem lại phim thì em nghĩ là nhân vật Sang ở trong phim có yêu nam thật.
And 2 years later now, I see the film. I genuinely do believe that Sang really was in love with Nam.
Và hiện tại thì em vẫn độc thân ạ.
Right now I'm still single.
Còn đối với con thì con là đứa trẻ lớn lên trong một cái gia đình rất là hạnh phúc, và khi mà nhận cái vai này thì phải thể hiện là phải cho mình lấy cảm giác đó chính là một cái cô bé thiếu tình thương.
So I grew up in a very happy family. So when I saw that this character is missing a lot of love in her life.
Và khi mà đảm nhận cái nhân vật thì con được trải nghiệm rất là nhiều thứ, và chưa bao giờ mà con làm việc trong một cái môi trường mà nó chuyên nghiệp nhưng mà nó cũng rất là khắc nghiệt như vậy.
So when I delve into the role, I got the chance to experience many things, and this is my first time working in an environment where it was very challenging, but also very professional.
Và khi mà làm việc trong cái môi trường chuyên nghiệp như vậy thì bản thân con cảm thấy là mình phải nỗ lực nhiều hơn, phải tìm hiểu và phải cố gắng để mình là nhân vật trong phim.
When I worked in this environment, everyone around me inspired me to push myself so much more and to really become the character.
Thì có những cái khoảnh khắc đó là khi mà on set thì con chỉ là diễn hỗ trợ thôi, nhưng mà thật sự là nước mắt con đó là tự giác nó rơi, tại vì lúc đó con đã là nhân vật và đó là Mimi, và cảm nhận được sâu sắc cái sự khao khát tình yêu và tình yêu thương của nhân vật trong phim, cũng như là cảm nhận được cái sự những cái nỗi khổ của cái nhân vật trong gia đình.
And even though my part is a supporting character, the tears were real because I genuinely felt Mimi's need for love and desire for happiness. I felt the sadness and the struggle of everyone in this family.
So maybe we can continue the discussion outside. We have any question, maybe we can talk in front. But thank you so much, Ash, for coming all the way to Bangkok.
Adventures at the Bangkok Film Festival.